All right, hey guys, we are going to start chapter 11 on it is called Squares and Rectangles, but it gets a lot more in depth than just knowing what a square is or knowing what a rectangle is. But in order to understand this chapter, we need to recall some prior knowledge from third grade and think about what we already know and what we need to learn involving geometry. So first, just a quick reminder, up here we have squares and rectangles. These are all quadrilaterals, and remember a quadrilateral has that root word quad, which means it has four, so it's four sides. So squares, rectangles, rhombus, trapezoid, parallelogram, all of those are quadrilaterals. We're focusing on squares and rectangles. So here are the rules of a square. All rectangles have opposite sides that are parallel. So if I have a rectangle, this side is parallel and this side is parallel, the opposite side. And the opposite sides are also the same length. What you're going to start to see are little, I'm going to call them tick marks, where if I have one tick mark right here and another tick mark right here, and this side I have two and this side I have two, what that means is that, hang on one second, let me turn this down. What that means is that anything with one tick mark is the same length. So this one has a 1 if this was a 4. That means that the other side that has one tick mark is also 4. This side has 2 tick marks. If that's 8, then the other side with 2 tick marks is also 8. So it's just a way to indicate that they're the same length. So the opposite sides are the same. All the angles are 90 degrees. That means it has 4 corners. They're all 90 degrees, which means that it has perpendicular lines. And that it says a rectangle may or may not be a square. What that means is that a rectangle is technically, or a square is technically a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square because a square has all of these things as well. A square also opposite sides are equal. It also has sides that are the same length. It also has 90 degrees. The difference between the two that separates them, though, is that a square is this one right here. All the sides are the same length. So a rectangle can't ever be a square because a rectangle never has 4 sides that are the same. It just has opposite sides. But a square has all the other same things that a rectangle does. The opposite sides of it are parallel. So if I have this square, opposite sides would be parallel. And it has 90-degree corners and angles in the corner. And then we know that all the sides are the same. So a square would get 1 tick mark on each side, whereas a rectangle, opposite sides are the same. Okay? Now, what we are also going to be doing a lot in this chapter, which will make more sense later, is taking a shape and breaking it up into squares and rectangles. So if I see this shape right here, it's just the idea of seeing like, oh, I actually see within this weird shape a square, a rectangle, and a rectangle. Or you could break it up differently. Oh boy. A square. Right here, you could see a rectangle and a rectangle. You could break it up even more. It's just being able to break up these shapes into different squares and rectangles, which will come in handy later. Again, chapter 12 for us is area and perimeter, but I know in 3rd grade you did this. But just a reminder that perimeter is the measurement outside on the outside of the shape. Okay? It's the distance like around the whole thing. So if you were to walk all the way around this, around this, around this, around this, that would be the perimeter. So we can add up that by adding up all the sides. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12 centimeters. The perimeter is 12 centimeters here. And same thing over here. Outside is the perimeter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Again, that can be tricky with bigger shapes. So if you can just see, there's 2 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you could just add. 5 plus 5 is 10. 2 plus 2 is 4. And that would be 14. So perimeter is the distance around the shape. And then area would be the distance, or would be the how much square footage is inside of it. Right now we're going to identify the squares and the rectangles here. So I want you to think every time I'm going to have you stop and pause, and I want you to write down your answers on a piece of paper. So pause, answer these questions, and then unpause when you're ready. All right, square. So this is a square. All the sides are the same length. This is a rectangle. Opposite sides are the same length. Again, if you wanted to check to see if something had 90-degree angles, you could always use like a little sticky note and put it in the corner of it. but this is a rectangle. Even though it's like tilted a little bit, I see it has 4 right angles and opposite sides the same. And this is a square because all the sides are the same. Again, for 5, 6, and 7, there's many ways to do it. I'm going to break this up into those 2 shapes. You can break this up like this, do a square, rectangle, rectangle. You can break this up and do a little square and a big rectangle. It's just seeing these figures, which we're going to call composite figures, because they're made up of squares and rectangles, and breaking them apart. This one says figure ABCD is a square. A, B, C, D. This figure is a square. Okay, so it has 4 sides of the same length. I know that one side is 3 centimeters. I know that another side is 3 centimeters, another side is 3 centimeters, and another side is 3 centimeters. Its opposite sides are parallel. So what I'm going to actually write here is the letter sides. So if I'm thinking of all of these are the same, I know line BC is the same as DC, which is the same as DA, which is the same as AB. And then it says opposite sides are parallel. So then I can look here, and I see that BC is parallel, BC is parallel to AD. And then I also see that DC is parallel to AB. BA, I can change it, is C parallel. It has 4 right angles. Each angle, well, I know a right angle is 90 degrees. And the perimeter, I'm going to add up the sides. I see 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. 3, 6, 9, 12. The perimeter is 12 centimeters. All right, now I want you guys to stop and pause and see if you can answer this one, and then press play when you're ready. All right, this one says figure EFGH is a rectangle. E to F to G to H. This is a rectangle. It has 4 sides. Its opposite sides are parallel and are the same length. So it's saying that I'm going to say that the opposite sides are equal. So I know that EF and HG are equal. EF and HG are equal. And I also know that FG and EH are equal. And then here it says parallel. Again, I know opposite sides. It's the same thing. EF and HG are parallel. And I know that FG and EH are also parallel. It has 1, 2, 3, 4 right angles, and each of them is 90 degrees. And the perimeter, 3 plus 3 is 6, 5 plus 5 is 10, and I know 10 plus 6 is 16. So the perimeter, or the distance around it, is 16. All right, let's keep going. Now that was our background knowledge. Now we're going to get started into chapter 11. So again, we've kind of talked about this, but just to reiterate, this is a square. It has 4 sides. All 4 sides are the same length, so I could put a little dash here to show that. And it's saying here that for this figure, this square right here, it's saying AB is the same as BC, which is the same as CD, which is the same as DA. And it says that they're all 15 inches. Then it says right here a little that the tick marks show that the lengths are all equal, which we already talked about. Again, opposite sides are parallel. Those are parallel lines. These are parallel lines. And I also know that it has 4 right angles, which you can see are indicated with the little squares in the corners that all measure 90 degrees. All right, and then same thing with a rectangle. We know that a rectangle still has 4 sides, just like a square. We know the opposite sides are equal, which is indicated with these tick marks. You see how the 30 has 2 tick marks and 2? That means both of those are 30. And the 12 has 1 tick mark and 1 tick mark, which shows that they are the same. I know that the opposite sides are parallel. Those are parallel. Those are parallel. And I know that it's the corners are 90, the angles are 90 degrees. So, the only difference again between a square and a rectangle is that square, all the sides are the same, whereas a rectangle, opposite sides are the same. All right, you're going to pause right here and you're going to fill this out. It says, look at these figures right here. We have X, Y, and Z. You're going to write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on your paper, and you're going to check off all of the, for number 2, all the ones that have equal length. Number 3, all the ones that opposite sides are equal. And then you're going to answer questions 8, 9, and 10. This should take you a few minutes. Press play when you're ready. All right, let's see. It says X. So it starts and gives us an example. The property has 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. X has 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Y and Z. So they all get checks. All sides are equal length. Well, I'm looking at this grid, and I can see that X is not, because this one has 2, and this one has 3. So not X. Y, I can see it's not. This side's 2, that side's longer. Z, yes. So I'm going to say no. No, which one? Z gets a check mark because 2, 2, 2, 2. The next one says opposite sides are of equal length. So let's see. Is this side the same as this side? Possibly if you tilt it this way, but I definitely see that this and this are not the same, so X is not. Y, yeah, this one's 2, this one's 2, this one's 4, that one's 4, so Y gets a check. Same with Z, 2, 2, 2, 2. Opposite sides are equal. It says has exactly one pair of parallel lines. Well, I see Y. These are not parallel, but I do see, I mean for X, not Y. These are parallel, so it does have one pair. Y, no, Y is 2 pairs because there's one, there's another, same with Z. So no, just that one. Has exactly 2 pairs of parallel sides. Well, look, I just did that. I know it's not X because they have 1. Y has 2 and Z has 2. Has exactly 4 right angles. Remember, if I don't have a protractor, I can use like a little piece of paper. This one has 2 right angles, but then that's a Q and that one's obtuse. But these have 4 right angles, so I'm going to check off Y and Z. And this one says has exactly 2, which I can see is the case for X. And then it says number 8, figure blank is a rectangle and a square. So let's see which one is both a rectangle and a square. And I'm going to look right here at my checklist, and I can see that Z is a rectangle and a square because Z has opposite sides that are equal. So does Y. But remember that a square can be a rectangle, but a rectangle can't be a square because a rectangle has opposite sides. So I would see figure Y is it's a rectangle, but it's not a square because remember, a square has to have 4 equal sides, which Y does not. And then 10 says figure, one figure is neither a square nor a rectangle, which I can see as X. X is a trapezoid because X still has 4 sides, but it does have a 90-degree angle, but it only has 1 pair of parallel lines, so that makes it a trapezoid. All right, I want you to write down, stop, pause, answer this, and then press play. This one says tell which figure is a square. Explain how to identify a square. Well, A is not a square. It's a triangle because it has 3 sides. It would be equilateral triangle because I see that it has tick marks on each side. Q, this one right here, B, is a square because look at, I can see the tick marks. It has 4 sides of the same length, opposite sides parallel, and 4 right angles. So that one is. C is not a square because it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. That's a pentagon, so not that one. And D is not a square because although it has 4 sides, only 2 right angles, and all the sides aren't the same length. So that's a trapezoid. So the only one that is a square is B. And then what about this? It says stop. You're going to stop and pause and tell me which is a rectangle and how you know. All right, let's check. So for number 12, it kind of looks like a rectangle because look, opposite sides are equal. The only thing it doesn't have, well, it does have opposite sides are parallel, but look, it doesn't have perpendicular lines. It doesn't have any right angles, so it can't be A. A is a parallelogram because a parallelogram has opposite sides that are equal, 2 pairs of parallel lines, but no right angles. I see B is a triangle, so it's not B. Only has 3 sides. C is a rectangle because opposite sides are equal. I see 4 right angles, and I see 2 pairs of parallel lines. And D is not because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. D is a pentagon because it has 5 sides. All right, now we're going to find the unknown length. So it says figure JKLM is a square. I know a square has all sides are equal. So then I know that if this side's 14, this side's 14, and this side's 14, and this side's 14. But look at, they're asking JK is 14 yards. Make sure you have these labels. And it says LM is also 14 yards. This one says PQRS is a rectangle. PQRS, that's a rectangle. So that I know for a rectangle, opposite sides are equal. So if this side's 5 feet, this side's 5 feet. If that side's 10 feet, that side's 10 feet. So it says QR, I know is 5 feet. RS is the opposite, that's 10 feet. All right, let's try some more. That's it. You are going to do right now, check to see if you can do any practice. If you do have an extra practice page, you could do pages 59 through 61 to practice this. Or you can check out, maybe there's some good stuff to practice on Study Island as well. All right, and you can check any workbook pages as well that go with 11.1 in your workbook. All right, bye guys.